Today's hard truth is this life is a heck of a lot shorter than you really think it is. The question is, how many milestones are you missing in your kid's life?
Curious what business owners are doing to double revenue, have more cash flow, work less hours, and provide a better lifestyle for their family? Dive into the world of business growth that leads to guaranteed wealth. Your hosts, Dr. Laura Schwalek and Jerry Kazaya. Grow and get answers to your business and investment questions that provide clarity, move you forward, and inspire you to reach your goals.
Welcome to this edition of the Business Builders Intensive. I am Dr. Laura Schwalek, and my co-host here is Jerry Kazaya. We have a wonderful, and I'm just so thrilled to have George Rivera here as our guest today. He's the author of the Buyback Time Formula. And oh my gosh, but you did a whole bunch of stuff before you even got there. So tell us a little about your kind of early days, what you did before you started the Buyback Time Formula.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dr. Laura and Jerry, for having me on your show. Excited to be here. So yeah, buyback time formula is something relatively new. I'd say a little under a year at this point, but my previous 30 years of doing business has been primarily in direct response, which is essentially put money in, money comes out. That difference, hopefully it's profit, is how you feed your family, pay the bills, and try to have a lifestyle out of all that. So over the last year, I've sort of had this personal transformation, call it seeking purpose in life. I felt like I was born here on this earth to bring more value than just like making money and doing direct responsey stuff to help people like the me of 10 years ago. And I call it cash rich, time poor. People that, the money bucket is pretty full, it's overflowing. Everybody could say they could do better, but like you're good here. But the family and the life bucket, there's leaky holes inside of it. And it's you're feeling the tension on the family side. So I have, since I've come out with this, I've had a number of people text me like, my goodness, my presence around my family, they light up like a Christmas tree. I didn't realize that I built myself into this founder prison. And now that I've seen the light, I want to do more of this. And so at a high level, that's kind of where I'm heading in my career now.
Good
That's
for you.
fantastic. So commonly we hear founders say they have cash flow issues, they're cash poor and they're time poor and they're just churning. And then the next level is being cash rich, but time poor. And so you have figured out a way to have it all.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so what prompted that change?
Yeah, I realized that the cost to my family that my pursuit of maintaining my business success was having, and like I said earlier, I don't think that we intentionally build ourselves into a founder prison, but that's just how life has a way of putting you there. And as entrepreneurs, we have this like my identity is in the work and the hustle, as well as who else is going to do all this important stuff that only I can do in my business. And so once you realize that it doesn't have to all depend on you, you can have other people do that, and then that essentially gives you the permission in your own mind to give that time back to your family, and so that you can be the present parent, the present dad back into the home that your family needs you to be. And so yeah, I had my own journey through that, and I just want to share that and experience that with others now.
Good for you. We have a client who was stuck in founder hell, working like a crazy man, right? Had very little time for his family. And he's gone through this huge metamorphosis. And just 2 weeks ago, we're on a call with him, and he said that he and his daughter were going to the same place, but he got in a separate vehicle and they got into a crowded vehicle. And later on, he said, why didn't you want to ride with me? They said, we didn't think you wanted us to ride with you. Right. And he's like, no, I want that. She says, but we don't know that. So not only do you have to work on the time, right? And you have to work on your business, you really need to make sure that you're communicating with your family what it is you want out of them and what you expect from them, right? And find out, do they want you? Have you been such a stranger that they don't even know who you are now and don't know what to ask for, right? I mean, it's another problem.
No, that's the thing is that like speak for myself. I was training my family to ignore me, to essentially plan a life without me. Like my word, they couldn't take me seriously. I wasn't intending to lie or be deceitful, but if I said, yeah, I'll be there at that game, I'll be there at that event, I might as well have considered it tentative unless there's a business fire. Of course, business comes first. And then, oh yeah, I can't make it. Can you handle it? And over time that fractures the bond that you might have had with your family. And so yeah, they can't trust you, they can't take you at your word, and it takes time to restore that. But by taking small actions consistently over time, that's how you restore the bond.
Consistency, consistency, consistency. This is the word we keep saying all the time. We've got to be consistent with small business, any business, really.
And I'd like to kind of ask you this question because it seems to me that who a man is in his business is brings requires a certain level of presence, but it's a different level of being present at home. And part of why I say this is because when Jerry's daughter was very young, I think she was probably maybe 3 or 4 years old, she was talking to Jerry and she said, Daddy, listen. And he was doing something.
I was on a computer. I was working on my laptop,
Yeah.
banging away, right?
Yeah.
At home. Instead of being at home with my kids, I was at home working.
And she said, Daddy, listen. And he said, I am listening. She said, No, Daddy, listen with your eyes.
And she literally turned my face and looked at me and said, listen with your eyes.
It requires a whole different level of being present. There's presence because you could be present somewhere, your body's there, but being present.
But your mind isn't.
So can you speak to how do they get there with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like I was saying, like proximity doesn't equal presence. Just because you're close doesn't mean that you're actually there. And yeah, been there, done that, where, your family's right there and you get your phone, right here and you're kind of trying to listen along and your brain's trying to keep track of two things. And all of a sudden you're agreeing and nodding to things that you have no idea what the other person is saying. And so, yeah, I think the best way to start restoring that bond at home is to phone away. You have your structure your calendar so that what, once it's 5 o'clock, whatever time that is, it's family time. Phone, put it in the drawer, put it out of sight, because out of sight, out of mind. And if you structure your business in the proper way, then you can essentially rest well knowing that all those other urgent things or things that you feel that are urgent are being handled and taken care of, and that they can wait. So I went through a process myself where I had to restore the bond at home because yeah, I had too many of those moments where I'm physically there, but my mind is elsewhere. And yeah, I've had my child too be like, Dad, no, look, and
Right.
it's always like, oh yeah, that's when they finally kind of, call you out, it's like no more
Yeah.
hiding, so yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. And what we tell people, what we teach, what we coach them on is to be fully present wherever you are, right? In other words, if you're at work, work. Don't do any of the personal things that you've been doing most of your career. Take care of that when you are not at work. But when you're at work, give it 100% or at least 90, right? And then when you're at home, put all the work stuff away. Of course, if there's an emergency, we get all that. But
Well,
you
and
know,
then there's a definition of what qualifies as an emergency.
is the building on
Yeah.
fire?
Yeah.
If the building's on fire, that's an emergency.
There
If
you go.
someone can't come to work because they have a scheduling problem, that's not an emergency, right? But when you're home, be fully with home.
Yeah.
And leave all your work stuff for work. And when you make that clear division, it seems to work a lot better. Your life works a lot better. Your family works better. Your business works better.
Yeah, 100%. And the way that I see it is, as the father, the husband, the head of the household, I'm training my family how to handle and react to things like stress and presence. And because for example, my son, he's just going to pick up on what it is that I'm, conveying to the family. And so when I think about it like that I'm training my replacement in this world, it changes my perspective. And so, yeah, I resonate with that very much.
Yeah, it's an amazing experience when it changes your experience of life when you realize that you are training a copycat that's living in your house right now, and he will be or she will be exactly like you are, exactly like your spouse is. And it just when you think long term, you go, oh my Lord, I need to make changes. and I need to do it quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been there, done that. Yep.
Yeah.
So, George, I know that there may be some listeners that say, "Oh, yeah, that's right. I've heard this before. I really need to be present. I'm going to be present. I'm really going to do this." And then they don't. What advice or how, how do they shift?
Yeah, no, and I can resonate with that too, because I don't think there's a human on earth who's going to disagree that we should be more present, around our spouse or children, and to have that impact with our family. I don't think that's a hard argument to convince people of, but the part where people often get stuck is they're thinking, but I do so much for my company. Maybe they're the founder and they built themselves to where they're the only ones that can do that one task. And sure, right now that's the case because that's how you've built the business. But there's a process of where you can set up systems and structure so that you remove yourself out. And that process often gets better handled by somebody more qualified at a much lower rate than what your time might be worth. And so once you start buying back just a little bit of that time, you're going to get addicted to like, what else can I do? And that allows you to put all of your time or the primary focus of your work time into what I call the zone of genius, the things that you were born to do that's going to help bring in revenue for the business and take it to new heights. And yeah, and then you take that time that you bought back and then you put it back into the family. And now you could sort of like, hey, I resonate with that I should be there for my family, and I can actually be there for my family, not just hoping, but you're stressed out because who's going to do all the important stuff? And I get it. I was there. It's like, who's going to do all that stuff? Because if I stop, the business is going to fall apart. I can't pay over here to support my family. I'm doing it for my family, even though they never really asked me to work this hard, but that's the excuse that I gave myself. So there is a bit of an identity shift and tweaking and adjustment that needs to happen if you're seriously committing to, yes, I buy into the fact that I need to be present for my family, and I'm going to do something about it on the business side.
And you can't be the only MVP in the company and expect it to flourish, because all you've done now is you've created golden handcuffs for yourself.
And you may be simply what I'm hearing you say is you may be only one hire away from really having it all.
Yep.
Yeah, at least that's where it starts. My first hire, as far as freeing me up, because I had a team. I had the world's worst org chart. It was me and then 40 people beneath me. I delegate down to them and it would just boomerang back up to me. I'd rob from the future by just saying, it's quicker if I do it myself. And yeah, it is for that moment, but I'm training the team that George is the firefighter. Just get it to this level and George will finish it off. And I kept paying them. And it's kind of insane when you're paying people to do a job that you're doing for them. And I lived insane for a long time. So my first move was essentially to hire what I call a number two, or an operations person, to be the person that manages that and structures it and organizes it in a way that first it's efficient for the operations person to handle, and then even more efficient for me, to where I just have one person that brings anything up or that I bring it down to, and we have a level of where, hey, if it doesn't meet this standard or this level, like we talked about earlier about the urgency, then you handle it, and that's by giving them decision rights. But yeah, all that starts with just hiring one person who can oversee whatever structure that you have. And like I said earlier, once you get addicted to getting a little bit of that time back, you're going to be like, let me optimize this whole thing, because yeah, it's a lot more fun when I'm only doing the things that I was born to do.
And you got founders, I'm going to ask you while you're listening to this, how many $10 an hour roles are you filling in your company? And is that really the highest and best use of your time?
Yeah.
If it isn't, hire somebody. They're cheap.
So how do they find you? Because this whole process is in your book, right? In the buyback time formula book.
Absolutely, yeah. So there's one website. It's buybacktimeformula.com. That's sort of the hub of getting into my world. Some people might want to get the book. It's 128 pages. It's free, just cover shipping. It's a heavy book. It's very light on fluff. Only fluff to explain the reason why we need the framework, but only put enough of what you need. But it's packed with everything I know about frameworks and getting yourself out of being the bottleneck. And I know others will kind of put a book together and then, oh, but you want the big secret, click this link and pay me 10 grand and you get the real secret. It's all in the book. But I know that there are people like me of 10 years ago. Again, cash rich, time poor. I would have paid a small fortune to accelerate founder president to present with my son, teaching him how to negotiate real estate, helping him start a podcast. Like, I would have paid a mini fortune to collapse that time. So I'm available to help founders who find themselves in that position, who's like, great information. I'm glad you're the expert. Now help me walk through it. And I'm there for them. And then I have another couple of links on there where you could find more just about me in general, as well as a couple of events that I host on a monthly basis. I host a couple times a month. I have people over to my home it's a small number of people, 6 to 8, founder dads who are kind of going through similar pressures that we all feel. That just a place to open up. It's not necessarily any kind of a networking event, just to kind of talk and let's what's going great in your life. What are things keeping you up at night, and just seeing how we can help each other out. And then I have a very similar event to that, but it's virtually for those that can't come to the Austin area for the dinner. And so that's open to the whole world. And it's called 18 Summers Roundtable, because we only get 18 summers with our children. And so if you got children under 18, the clock's ticking before you lose the opportunity to have the most influence on them. Sure, you can still be there for them when they're older, and I encourage you to be there if they're older. But when they're children, it's just such a prime time to have that impact that I know we all want to make, and reduce any regrets that we'll have at older age. So I kind of went long there, but yes, buybacktimeformula.com. That's kind of where you enter my world, and I got socials there. You can follow me, and yeah, that's where you start.
George, you talk about 18 summers with your kids. When my children were younger, I counted how many, because at the time we were working 6 days a week, and I counted how many Sundays I would have before they turned 16. I assume when they turn 16, they're going to have cars. They're going to be, they're not hanging out with mom and dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I counted how many Sundays I would have before they turned 16, and I put that number of quarters in a jar, and every Sunday I took a quarter out of the jar. So I had a visual stimulation of time's running out. You better make it count. And it's not sitting on your ass in front of a TV, right?
Oh man, no, no, no.
That to me, that was never quality time, right?
Mm-mm.
Let's do something together so we know who each other is. And oh, by the way, we only have this many quarters left, right?
Yeah, it's crazy how much or how little time we have when you add it up, like you just beautifully did. It really hits home, and it implants that sense of urgency and importance that we need to make the most of what we have in front of us right now, because it's going to be gone. And you know what? You could give the excuse of, yeah, but I'm working hard. I'm providing my family a great lifestyle. And maybe that's all true. But I promise you, when you get to the end days, you're sitting on your deathbed, or your chair, knowing that the end is near, you're never going to look back and be like, oh, I'm so thankful I missed your games, your recitals, those family dinners for this client or this fire. You won't remember the client. You won't remember the specific fire, but you will remember if you made the effort to be present for those games and what comes out of there, being there for dinner. And so yeah, let's realize it now before it's too late. Because another thing I'll say, say you're in your older years and you've amassed this great fortune, I guarantee you would give up every penny of that fortune just to rewind the clock to have one more game or one more dinner. So let's not wait for that to happen. Let's do it now while it's top of mind.
So we have a friend who's an ER nurse and has been one for over 30 years. And she says, I've seen a lot of people over these 37 years of being an ER nurse. I've seen them on their deathbed, and not one of them ever said, I wish I'd spent more time at work.
And the hard truth is that it stings when there's a monumental moment and you missed it, and you see the look of just sadness in your disappointment in your kid's eye.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Dad, I hit a home run and you weren't there.
It's it hurt you. Seeing them hurt hurts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that you're the one that caused that hurt.
Yeah, no, that stings. Yeah, I struggle to think something that hurts more than that hits at the core of who we are. And we can you can pile on the excuses, but that doesn't change the outcome. And
I
so
guarantee you, your kids have never asked you to work harder, longer, or stay away from the family more. Guaranteed. Unless you're an abusive SOB, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Please,
Yeah,
Dad, go take your ass back to work.
yeah, we don't need you around here. But no, you're right. Yeah, assuming you're a decent human being, yeah, no kid is ever going to want less time with their parents, especially the father who's supposed to be setting the tone for the home. You're training your son, how to be a man. You're training your daughter. You're showing your daughter like how to look for a man. And so that when, the daughters are out in the world and they're dating, they're like, oh, my dad didn't talk to women like that. My dad, he'd open my door. Red flags. And you could take pride as a dad that you showed your daughter how to at least look and find a potentially good man. I know there's no guarantees, but at least setting the foundation is you're way ahead of a lot of other people out there who don't have anything.
Yeah.
When we think about the amount of time that children spend in school, even in homeschooled, unless you are the one homeschooling them, you have very little time with them. Everything else that takes up their time is influencing them.
Yep.
So the time that you have with them you must be present and know that you are the one that's influencing them in that moment. So that's your opportunity to really make it count. So my challenge for you, for those of you who have children, is to really take this seriously. And George, would you tell us again the website where they can get to or how they should reach your book or you?
No, absolutely. And yeah, what you were just saying hits home because we homeschool our son and he only works school about an hour a day because honestly the school system has him trapped, for
Yeah.
hours on end, and that's to adjust to our lifestyle because of the 8 hour workday. And so it's almost like extended daycare. But yes, to answer your question, buybacktimeformula.com is where you go, and that kind of gets you into the beginning of my world, whether it's buy the book, follow me on socials, or attend any of my live events or anything else.
What is it that your son does the rest of the hours of the day? What is he interested in?
Yeah, so he's gotten into podcasting. He's done podcast interviews with a number of my friends and peers. I mean, he's 11, he doesn't have a network. His peers are like face and phone all day long, and they don't know how to like shake someone's hand or look them in the eye. And so
Yeah,
he
that's
fortunately
bad.
has gotten a lot of good things from mom and dad. And so yeah, he loves talking to other people, loves asking them about their wisdom, experiences in life. How did you reach your level of success? What are some failures that you could go back in time? What would you redo and do differently? Just like nuggets of wisdom that I don't know how else an 11-year-old would get that other than talking to people who've actually been there and done that. And so yeah, he really loves that. He wants to build that out. He's got leointerviews.com if anybody wants to check that out. And yeah, aside from that, he's a typical 11-year-old kid who likes Pokemon and likes to play basketball. And he's a big believer in his faith, loves to share how excited he is about that. So yeah, he's a little kid with a massive heart.
Oh, that's
Good for him.
fantastic.
And one of the things that we did, we were talking about make sure you have quality time with your kids, right? So we would have dinner every night in our formal dining room, the whole family. That's just the way it was. And during dinner, we so I want to tell this quick story. I'll give you a Reader's Digest. My son turned 14 years old, and he started coming to the dinner table in the formal dining room with a hoodie on, with the hoodie up. And our MO was normally we'd eat dinner, we'd all clean up the dishes, put it in the dishwasher, wash them, whatever we needed to do, clean the place up. And then my son, my daughter, and I, we would go downstairs after the homework was done, and we'd play computer games. I was in the middle. My daughter was to the left. My son was to the right. I could monitor what they were doing and make sure everything was safe, right? My son comes to dinner. He's wearing his hoodie. He wolfs down his food and says, "Dad, can I be excused?" I says, "Where are you going?" He goes, "I want to go play computer." So, no, we're all still here. He literally, George, he stuck his head, like we called it frame 12. His face was on his plate, and he totally disengaged from the conversations. And this went on for a couple weeks, and I came up with this game. And the game was 4 questions. And every night it's a different moderator. So tonight I'll be the moderator. Tomorrow Laura will be the moderator. The next night will be my son. The next night will be my daughter. And then it's back to me. And the 4 questions are, what's the worst part of your day? What's the bad part of your day? What's a good part of your day? And what's the best part of your day?
So we'd ask the one question and go around the table, and everyone would answer that one question. And then we would ask the next question and go around the table and answer the question.
And this was not the place for rebuttal.
There's no justification, blaming, anything like that.
You can't say,
Not the place for debate.
the worst part of my day was when Dad yelled at me. Well, I yelled at you because you were being a duck. No. You just let them say what's so,
Yep.
right? And then at the end of the 4 questions, the moderator would pick a topic for open discussion. And so we spent many, 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 many hours playing this game, having these conversations. We learned so much about our kids. We learned about who was doing drugs in school. We learned who was having sex in school. We learned things you wouldn't even imagine.
We learned what they valued.
Yeah.
We learned their values, we learned their dreams, we learned things that they just did not part of their core being.
Hmm.
And it was like most of it was like, oh wow, what a relief. Oh gosh, dodged that bullet. And it was just such a fascinating, it's such an easy game to start, easy thing to play.
Hmm.
Worst part, bad part, good part, best part, and then open discussion.
And it took about a month before my son would play. Dad, I don't want to play. Oh, we're playing anyway, honey.
Worst part of my day is playing this stupid game.
Well, that's a start. Thanks for the answer, right? And
Hey,
we'd
you
go on
participated.
and we'd
Yeah.
keep playing the game. And finally he engaged. And George, I'm going to tell you, I knew it was a really good win because one day I picked up my daughter from school and she got out 30 minutes before my son did. And then I picked up my son. He gets in my truck. He says, Dad, is it okay if we don't play computers tonight? Yeah, why? What's up? I just want to sit around the table and talk. It's like,
Oh,
ah,
yeah, yeah. Love
ah.
that.
It was like the biggest win of my life, right? I
Yeah.
got I got my kid back. It was really cool.
Oh,
And so now he's 35, she's 32, and when we get together, inevitably one of them says, "So Dad, yeah, what was the worst part of your day?"
oh man. Well, that's legacy right there. You know,
Yeah,
they're gonna do that with their kids and yeah, it's a beautiful thing to pass down. I know. Yeah, sounds like they love it. Beautiful.
it worked for us.
Yeah.
So, George, tell us what are the main, I don't want to necessarily use the term outcomes because the intangible doesn't really have much of an outcome. But when people are in one of your groups, when men or women are in your groups, what's the biggest thing they say about why they're so glad they're there?
Yeah, you know, a lot of people will kind of initially come for kind of the systems and the business stuff because they feel like they're going to get an edge there, and you know, they do. But the outcome that they really get is the sense of freedom that they've never felt before. And you know, one of the things I got to tell them is, okay, but be careful because if you're like me and we're all kind of similar in that way, you're going to work yourself back into the business. You're going to start a new business. You're going to get distracted by something else. And you know, if it falls within your working hours that you've dedicated to, like, I start here, I stop there, and that's it. If it doesn't fit in there, it's not happening. Like if you can fit it there, fine, but be careful about working yourself back into the whole reason why you came to me in the first place. Yeah, it's just seeing the family light up at their presence and seeing that they can actually, you know, impact their family for legacy. And when I think of legacy, I think of generations. And yeah, I don't know if there's anything better you can do than to like, you know, usher and steer your family for generational you know, success, you know, whether that's, you know, prosperity or teaching them you know, the important things that only your own life experience can, you know, pass down. Like Jerry, how you said, you know, the game that you guys play at the table, like those kind of things, like that you can't buy that. No amount of money will ever replace that feeling that you had when you said, I got my son back. Like you can't win a lottery big enough to say that the lottery is better than that. So I don't know, just yeah, helping people experience those kind of moments that you did, Jerry. That's what lights me up in this whole process.
21 years later, I still get choked up when I start telling that story
Ah,
because
beautiful.
I mean, it's one of the greatest things for me was to have my kids back.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure there's no choking up at some of the financial wins. They're nice. It's glad they're there. But yeah,
Yeah,
this is where the true happiness in life is. And so, man, well, thank you for sharing that with me. And I know your listeners appreciate that too.
yeah.
So, wrapping up every episode, I ask our listeners a question, and I've been trying to think of, okay, how do I phrase this question so that it has impact
You're really good at it, usually.
is also a challenge? Because for whoever's listening, here's my challenge for you. Are you present with your kids? This is a multifaceted question. Are you present with them? Do you know how to be present with them? Because that's a whole nother level. And if you feel like you're missing out on their life, then reach out to George, buybacktimeformula.com, or reach out to me and Jerry, Business Builders Mentor and Masterminds. That's
BBMMUSA.com.
BBMMUSA.com. And we will, along with the other members of the group, help you, support you, and challenge you to not just get your freedom, but to get your life with your family too.
We have a client. a month ago. This is a relatively new client for us. A month ago, he called us up and he was all choked up. I said, dude, what's going on? He said, my 12-year-old daughter came into the living room last night. I'm in my chair reading a book. And she put her arms around my neck, kissed me on the cheek, and said, Daddy, I love you. For the first time.
12 years of her life, she didn't feel safe enough to do that.
And so I know we know how to help people be with their family.
Absolutely. That's proof right there. It doesn't get any clearer than that.
Right? Can you imagine? Wow. Man,
powerful.
For the first time in her life, she felt safe enough to give her dad a kiss on the cheek and tell him she loved him. Man.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but he's been living life wrong. And how many listeners are out there in the same boat? Let's fix this. We have to work on our kids by working on us first. Yeah. They tell you on the airplane, in the event of an emergency, put your mask on first, right? We have a saying, fix the man, we fix the business.
All right.
Are there any other words of wisdom, George, that you'd like to share with everyone before we end this episode?
No, I mean, it was a great episode. Thank you both for having me. Yeah, I'd say the last thing is, we can always make more money, but we can never rewind a childhood. So while you've got young children, younger children, and if you've got older children and you feel like you've blown it, it's never too late. But just be mindful of the time that we have. Like you said, Jerry, those quarters, they're getting, smaller every week, every day. So let's make sure we don't wait till there are no more quarters left.
Amen. Yeah, that's good stuff. Okay, remember, it's buybacktimeformula.com. Please reach out to George. He's awesome. We're going to go visit with him next week in Austin while we're there. And we have our event coming up. It's Money, Freedom, Legacy at the end of March in Austin, Texas. It's an amazing 2-day event. It will, I promise you, change your life. Go to BBMMUSA.com. Check it out. If you have questions, ping us. We'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And thank you so much, George, for being with us today.
Bye, everybody. See you next time.
Grow and get answers to your business and investment questions that provide clarity, move you forward, and inspire you to reach your goals. Share the show and connect with us at BBMMUSA.com to submit questions and learn more. That's BBMMUSA.com.